I'm in it.
Sick.
Sick. All right. Hey. Oh my God.
It's
This is one of my
always
favorite
so
things. This
awkward.
is one of my favorite absolute things ever. We
It's
talk for
always
like
so awkward.
10 minutes beforehand and just crack ourselves up, and then we're like, okay, we got to be serious. We got to get on this live stream. We got to be serious.
Well, what's funny is
And then we
like
can't
when we
make it.
start. Well, I think the reason why we can't like properly open a live feed is because whenever we call each other on the phone, we never actually say hi to each other. It's always like, yeah,
We're never actually like, hey, dude, what's up? What's up? How's it going?
it's not. It's never
Oh,
like a
good.
hello. How's your day going? It's always
Mm.
like, "Bleh."
What's up, eh? Well, here we are. All right, we are
Hello.
live. We are live. So,
Nice.
Jetthro here, and you are. Give an introduction for the people.
My name is Brandon Casper.
Who?
I don't have a cool name like you,
uh,
but yeah,
well,
Brandon.
I had to make mine up, so it's all good.
Yeah.
This is a night dive, where we explore our minds and just things through experience, things through working through our minds in general, and just trying to figure stuff out, figure life out. I, real quickly as an introduction, I've been running a lot, and I have never run in my life up until this point. Like March happened, and I was sitting on my couch, and I was like, I can't keep doing this. I just cannot keep sitting here on my couch watching the TV, just wasting away. So I started running, and I've been running a lot. It's really changed my mind more than my body, seeing things differently. For you, Brandon, I mean, I don't want to take any thunder. Do you want to like kind of say where you're at and just kind of where you're at, I guess?
Where I'm
Where
at.
are you? Where are you at?
Nice. Yeah, so I guess I haven't been running, which is
Ah,
it is what it is. But
okay.
um,
We
yeah, no,
we
it's
do we do have a marathon signed up in November.
it's true.
Yeah.
So stay tuned on that one. We're gonna see how
Oh,
that goes.
I love it. I love it.
So yeah, I don't know. I like I guess my thing is lately I've been really excelling in what I've been doing recently, and I think
What?
it all credits back to like in the sport of golf, and I think it
Okay.
credits back to the fact that I don't know, I just like it's a kind of a culminate. This year has been kind of a culmination of all of the hard work that I've been doing over the last few years, and yeah, we'll dive into it a little bit more deeply, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I've just been playing a lot, practicing a lot, and yeah.
Okay. Okay. Um, as like a backstory, just for like documentation purposes, I guess. So we we went to the same high school. So I'm gonna bring this down a little bit. So we went to the same high school. I remember trying out on the high school team with you, our junior year,
Yeah,
and I remember making the team. I actually did really well. I think I shot like a 77 that round.
that is pretty good.
And I remember you shot something in the hundreds, like 102, 101 or something. And I remember feeling, I wanted you to be on the team with me. And I remember feeling bad. I'm like, damn, dude, I want Brandon to be on the team with me, but like there was nothing I could do, right? And so that was, high school was fucking 20 years ago.
20.
Okay, maybe not that long, but it was 15 years ago, I think. Yeah, it was 2008. But you know, that was then, and now you have consistently been practicing. Your mind has been focused on getting better and not giving up on this, and just doing it day in, day out, doing tournaments, doing work in golf courses, like all kinds of stuff that you've done. And now you just, you just had a tournament where you barely missed qualifying for the U.S. Open, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like there's a lot of space in between there, but like the talk me through your mental aspect of like how you felt throughout, like what's the overarching feeling you've kind of felt through like all of those trials and just like the whole time you've been doing this, like.
Yeah, so I think before I begin that, I think it's worth noting, going back a little bit more.
Okay.
And so before high school, I think, obviously, I don't know if everyone listening knows, but like you and I, like we grew up together.
Yeah.
We grew up pretty close to each other. I mean, we've known each other since we were 6-ish years old. Um, Growing up, I feel like a lot of it was centered around like playing sports together.
Mm,
We played a lot of basketball.
yeah.
We kind of dabbled in baseball every once in a while,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but we also played a lot of golf,
We
and
did.
um, not like the traditional like go to the golf course and do all that stuff. I think that it's kind of interesting to note that a lot of the golf that we played as kids was we would get a one of those Homer 5-gallon buckets
Yeah,
and put it in our
dude.
front yard and just hit little flop shots into the bucket just
Into
over
it.
and over and
Yeah.
over and over again. And we had a net put up in, I think it was your side yard or your backyard, and we
That's
would just
right.
hit balls into that net just
That's right.
over and over and
That's
over
right.
again.
That's
And
right.
putting, we would putt in the house. We would putt like we would
That's
essentially
right.
make these like makeshift golf course
That's
setups,
right, dude.
all over the yard and all over the house. And there's a lot of stuff that we did in that stuff in that time that I don't think you quite realize that I still think about that stuff to this day.
That's
Because what
wild.
you do is when you're chipping into a bucket, when you're chipping into a 5-gallon bucket, you're essentially learning how to hit a ball to a specific landing spot. And landing
Mm,
spots is what like PGA teaching professionals teach all the time. When you're chipping a ball, you have to visualize your landing spot.
interesting.
And I've had that naturally. I don't have to think about
Because of
landing
that.
spots because of
Interesting.
us chipping into a 5-gallon bucket. And so um,
Wild.
stuff that we grinded back in the day when we were kids that we didn't think was actually helping actually helped me tremendously as my practicing moved on.
Wild.
Um, so that just goes to show like when you're like when you don't know that you're doing the right thing, sometimes you're doing the right thing.
Interesting.
And um, yeah, it's a really cool like full circle moment.
Yeah.
And but yeah, like to fast forward a little bit, I think that going into the high school tryouts, again, I didn't have that like internal like realization. I thought we were just like messing around and hitting balls and having fun and whatever.
Uh-huh.
And
Like at the at
and
the at the at the tryout,
yeah, well, I mean,
or just
I
in
just didn't
general?
really, I just didn't have the like
Mm,
skill and the fortitude and whatnot to endure all that. And
yeah.
as you mentioned, I shot a million basically at tryouts.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
basically, for all those who don't know, the like over par is typically like everybody wants to shoot even par is like the goal of everybody playing, which means that you got around the course in a certain amount of shots. Anything over par means you're taking more shots than you're allowed to, and you never want to be over par. You always want to try to be under par. I
Mm,
was at tryouts. I was on average like 30 shots over par,
yeah.
which is not very good.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and so that was incredibly discouraging. And I was cut from my team, and I I essentially hung up the golf clubs. I don't remember playing after that for a long time. Um,
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so after that, I was incredibly discouraged. I was um, a lot of the people who I thought were like cool played golf, and I just felt like I wasn't cool enough, and so I just kind of just stopped playing.
Interesting.
Um, and it wasn't until I went to college, like I'd played a few times here and there, but for the most part, it wasn't until I went to college where I really started like playing regularly again. Um, and up in Logan,
Yeah.
there's a golf course called Birch Creek, and I had a buddy that um, was like, "Hey, like I play in these amateur tournaments, like for the Utah Golf Association. You should try to play." And I'm like, "Oh man, I haven't played in years. Whatever. Like, there's no
Yeah.
way I'm going to play in that." And he goes, "Ah, just playing it. Like, it's for all abilities. It's for all skill levels." And so I said, "You know what? Screw it. Like, I'm going to sign up for it and see what it's like." And I remember I was so nervous because the biggest thing is I had no idea what to wear. I didn't have a golf polo. I, I was like, It was when we played in bands, and so I had like skinny jeans and like t-shirts, and I was like, I don't
Oh
have any
god.
freaking thing to wear at all. Like, I don't know
That's
what to do.
hilarious. That's
And
hilarious.
so I went to Walmart and bought like this like $20 like golf shirt from Walmart, and I just looked like, the starting player from like, if you get into any sports game, like
The
where you
beginner
start in the beginner player, where like you have like the generic outfits, and like they
Yeah.
never look good. You immediately want to upgrade immediately after. That was me at the Birch Creek Amateur.
That's
Like NBA
hilarious.
2K, NBA 2K level 1, that was me.
That's
And
hilarious.
so I show up to this golf course and play this round, and it's just a 1 day tournament. It's just a 18-hole round golf tournament,
Uh-huh.
for the Utah Golf Association. They put on amateurs throughout the year. And so I played in this tournament. There was probably like 100 and something people that played. And I remember I played not great. I played not great, but there were moments of like time in that round where I said like I would connect with a shot and I'd be like, God, this is actually like exhilarating. Like you're under the
Mm.
gun in a tournament setting,
Ah.
and I just hit a good shot, and there are other people watching me, and
Ah.
I just got this feeling like it was a fire inside of me that I've never felt before.
Interesting.
And it was after that I remember I shot like 90. It was like either 89 or 90 or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And at that point I was like, I actually beat a few people in this field. Like I didn't take dead last. And I was like, I actually beat a few people, which tells me that like I'm not the worst one out here. And all of a sudden I started building on myself like, okay, well, I was really bad with my driver, so I'm gonna go to the driving range and kind of like maybe figure it out a little bit.
Oh, I love it,
And
dude.
it turned into me like obsessively like, I'm hitting a slice. Why am I hitting a slice? And I would go and buy like books on like how to fix a
Dude,
slice.
no
Or
shit.
like I would like for example, like I was really bad at putting when I was starting out.
Uh-huh.
And so I went and bought this book called The Putting Prescription. I can't remember who it's by. But it's like a 200-page book, and it literally details every element of the stroke. Like, what is your right index finger doing on the grip at impact?
Wow.
And
Wow.
like, what is your grip look like full swing versus a putting grip? And like, I just obsessed over this game, and I was reading every little thing, and I started applying it. Like, I would take books to the practice green and literally lay out books on the practice
You're
green.
kidding. Dude, I
And
had
as
no
I'm
idea of this.
No, I totally did all of this. And
That's
as I was like
amazing.
practicing, I was literally referencing this book, like flipping through the pages and being like, why does this feel weird? According to this book, this is why. And I
Oh
would
my
try different
god.
things.
That's
And
awesome.
that was me for like 2 years, is just obsessively reading. I refer to, there's a book by Tiger Woods. It's called How I Play Golf. Your dad
Uh-huh.
actually gave it to me.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
I refer to it as my golf Bible because it's literally from start to finish how he swings the club. And it's
Wow.
like how he hits a driver, how he hits an iron, how he hits a wedge, how he hits a putt, course management, course strategy, like physical, like workouts, like everything that has to do with
Really?
golf. And I used to take that book to the driving range all the time and just mess around with techniques that he would teach in it. And
Wow.
um, I did that for 2 or 3 years and just constantly like, and I mean this in the most positive way possible, but I constantly failed at golf tournaments. I was constantly
Yeah.
failing because I wanted to figure out how to not fail.
Yeah.
And um,
That's
I
amazing.
would shoot, yeah, like I'd go out to this tournament and I would think I had something, and something else would expose itself and be like, well, I got to figure that out now. Like, oh, my wedges are not very good. So I got to figure out my wedges now. And like, I figured out my wedges, but now like my irons are bad and I got to figure that out now too. So like all of these pieces were starting to like come together.
Man.
And when I got a job at Logan River, that was like 2 or 3 years after I played in my first tournament.
Uh-huh.
Um, it started, so I got free range balls and I got free um, unlimited access to the golf course. So you know what that meant? That meant I could practice anytime I want.
Anytime.
And so that was all day, every day. I'd get to the range at
Man.
7 a.m. and I would hit balls until 9 a.m. I'd go play from 9 a.m. with my buddies until like 6 p.m. And then at the end, I'd go and putt for 2 hours and then go home. Like
Jeez.
I would literally just be at the golf course all day long. And like, there's a reason why like I didn't really date anybody around that time. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I was always single because like I was just spending time at the golf course.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I started noticing that things started paying off because I started like having better showings in my tournaments, and I started having better like Like I started placing higher in tournaments, but I've
Uh,
still had a lot to learn because I was like, if I'm struggling in these amateur tournaments, how am I going to hold myself in like bigger, higher tournaments? And so I had to just keep
yeah.
figuring it out and keep figuring it out. And honestly, the tipping point, like I got pretty good before what I'm about to tell you. Like I got pretty good, um, but it wasn't until I moved to Alabama, which was the tipping point for me, um, because I could only peak so much in Utah just
Mm,
because of the people I was surrounding myself with. Like they always say, like, and it's the same thing in music. I'm sure you had it when you were in music, where good players um, get better by playing with better players.
with better, yeah. Yep.
And so I kind of peaked in that regard. And so I was like, I was playing with the same guys where we were shooting 75, 76s and like competing with each other, and it was fun.
Sure.
Um, when I
Sure.
went to Alabama, I was surrounded by a bunch of guys who were shooting mid to high 60s consistently. And
Interesting.
I was like, I was like either sink or swim right now.
Oh
I
wow,
had
yeah.
to, I had to
Yeah.
figure it out.
Yeah.
And I loved it. It was the greatest thing because it pushed me
Interesting.
so hard.
Yeah.
Um, in my game, like I was constantly working on it. There were different grass types out there, and so I had to figure out how to putt on different grass types, chip on different grass types, like all kinds of stuff. There were so many elements of the game that were brought to my attention that I didn't know of before. And then when I came back to Utah, when I moved back to Utah last year, all of a sudden it all clicked. Like
Yeah.
I started like having better showings in tournaments, and
Man.
my golf swing feels really good. And I mean, as you mentioned earlier in the video, I jokingly, but not jokingly, like just submitted an application to qualify for the U.S. Open, and I got into the qualifier. So I was like, oh, okay, like let's just send it, let's do it. And I ended up missing the cut by a few shots. And
Which is
so
nuts,
that's
dude. That's amazing.
yeah, and
Go ahead.
that kind of goes to show that like it was kind of one of those moments where, and I didn't really reflect on it until you and I had that conversation on the phone. And I hung up the phone and I kind of took a second, and I was standing up at Valley View Golf Course, which is on the side of the mountain,
Uh-huh.
and you could see all the way through, like
The
throughout the whole
valley.
valley.
Yeah.
And so I kind of like when I hung up the phone with you, I took a second and I looked out at the valley, and I was like having one of those moments, those like introspective moments, and it's like, man, 6 years ago you couldn't hit the ball to save your life. You couldn't like. There's a
Yeah.
moment in time where I was like, what am I doing? Like
Yeah.
I'm in way over my skis here, but I never gave up. And I always, every day I woke up and I said, how can I get better at something today? And I think that through all of that, and there were moments in that journey where I look back and I feel like I kept pushing, but I wasn't ever going up. Like it was plateauing.
Uh-huh.
And what I thought was plateauing. But now I look back and it's like a constant, as long as you keep trying to get a few percent better every day. I think
Yeah.
Kobe Bryant said, as long as you can get 2% better every day,
Yeah.
then over the span of a year, you're gonna
That's a
be
lot of
way up
percent.
here,
Yeah.
you know? And so I look back and I quite literally got 2% better every single day.
That's wild.
And over
Like
that
what?
journey, yeah.
So so I don't mean to cut you off. So
No, you're
like
good.
what like you had this like fire in you, and is that just what kind of drove you to it? Like
Well, I think it comes back to the fact that like yeah, like you kind of find what you love and you let it like drive you, and like you work towards being the best version of that you want to be.
yeah.
But also I think that there's an element of my like I just wanted so badly to be a master at something, and
Mm.
I couldn't ever figure out what it was. I
Mm.
thought it was basketball when I was a kid. Um, Turns out I wasn't big enough to be a basketball player.
Whatever, you're
Um,
like 6'6".
I'm a, are you kidding me? Look at my wrist, dude. It's like a toothpick.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I just couldn't ever find anything. And then when I started realizing that like I really love this game and there were avenues for me to get better at it,
yeah. Mm.
I just ran with it. I took it, and I don't regret a single thing. Looking back on it, like
Yeah.
I don't regret anything about that because this is one of the few sports that allows me to um, like grow at my own pace. And if I want to
Mm.
grow at a slow pace, then that's all me. I'm not relying on a team. It's me and myself out there.
Mm.
And
Beautiful.
I can also grow at as fast of a pace as I want, which is
Yeah.
what I've done. Is I was out there on the putting green. I was that loser that people go out there and they're like, why does this guy have like 3 books laying on the putting green? Like as he's like,
Well, just
I
the
was out there just
element of not caring, dude. That's awesome.
yeah. I just wanted to get better so bad. And I remember I was in my room, like literally, like I had a putting mat in my bedroom,
Uh-huh.
and I was like streaming like YouTube videos on how to like putt correctly, or like I was like just actively just searching for any little tiny tidbit of information that I could gather to help my stroke get a little bit better.
Man.
And just it's just one of those things where like you find what you love and you want it so bad that you're not going to let anything get in your way.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, man. Beautiful. Serious. Yeah, I had no idea of a lot of that. A lot of that.
I didn't really tell a lot of people.
Yeah.
I don't think it's something that I was going to go out and like actively brag about. It was one of those moments where like I wanted my scores to do all the talking, you know,
Yeah.
like I
Cuz
wanted
I
to get to a point where like I could enter the US Open qualifier,
yeah,
and like people don't get to see behind the curtains, but people get to see the result at the
the
end, you know?
result, yeah.
And like, yeah, like I don't want to be the guy that's like, oh, I was putting for 4 hours today, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, just like, I want to show you that I shot a whatever score in whatever tournament, you know?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, I see, yeah, there were a lot of times where you would say like, "Hey, I'm going down to this tournament." And um yeah, and it was years and years ago, but you'd be like, "Hey, I'm going to this tournament." I'm like, "Dude, fuck yeah. Hell yeah, dude. Get it." And you tell me like, "Yeah, dude, I shot a 90. It sucked." And I'm like, "Ah, damn. All right. Okay. Well, yeah. Keep doing you, dude. Keep going, brother, I guess. I don't know." And
Yeah.
now you literally have over years, and like you're just still continuing to do it and do it and do it. Um and yeah, now you're here.
Well, and
It's just pretty
like
cool. It's
that
really
kind of
cool, man.
reminds me, of something I can kind of share. So my boss at Logan River, actually, before I say it, so, do you remember when we went to St. George and you and I went together and we went down and stayed with Brandon Lee?
Uh-huh.
And I played in
Mhm.
like a 2 day golf tournament. I
Mhm.
shot like a million
I
over
do
both
I
days
do
and just
remember that, yeah.
sucked really bad. That
Uh-huh.
was part of that was part of me going, okay, like I need to just expose myself to it. And if I suck and if I blow up, that's part of this process. Um, Learning from your failures is just as important as learning from your successes. So like
Yeah.
I failed at that tournament. I went back to the drawing board and said, okay, what did I do wrong? Just about everything. And so I know
Yeah.
what I need to work on.
I
And
remember
so,
I remember the first tee, the first shot you shanked.
mhm.
Yeah. And
And that came down to that. That was one of the biggest takeaways I had from that tournament was nerves. I was like, I was
mm,
so scared.
yeah.
Um, and so like I started working on it, you know. But anyway, so my boss, he told me one thing that honestly, like, it fueled my fire and it kind of made me push even more forward.
Uh-huh.
Um, because it was he witnessed it firsthand. Because I would go to work and I'd be like, hey, I have this golf tournament this weekend, this golf tournament this weekend, this golf tournament this weekend. So he knew my whole schedule, and so he would always ask me after the fact, the Sunday after our golf tournament, my golf tournament, I'd come into work and he'd be like, hey, how did it go? And I'm like, oh, like tied for 100th, or like, oh, I shot 89 or something. Oh, I shot 82. Oh, I shot whatever. I'm just like failing weekend after weekend after weekend. And one day he looked at me and he goes, Brandon, one thing that I respect the most about you is like something that no one else has. And that is your ability to like pick yourself up off the ground, brush off, and just play again the next week. Like, he's like, your ability to just like pull yourself up out of the trenches and just not even cry about it and just go and play again. He's like, that's
Yeah.
huge. Like, that's
Yeah.
something that's going to get you far. And I was like, you know what? You're absolutely right. And so I actually had that in my head going forward, that like, if I fail, it's okay. I'll just play again next week. Like, it's not really that big of a deal. I'm going to learn it eventually. And now I'm standing here today, looking back saying, I've learned it. Like,
I
like yesterday I played in the state am qualifier and I won a 4 for 2 playoff to get into a spot into the state amateur. So like I qualified for the state amateur. Um, I can say that I did. I got into the mid amateur. I was a few shots away from the US Open. Like, I'm standing here telling you that like all of those failures have paved the way for my success today.
I wish we had this talk like 4 years ago.
Me too, because then I wouldn't have an old body like I do right now.
No, dude, it's just cuz I'm so late to that game, that mental game. Literally, I realized it in March of this year,
Yeah.
where it's like just don't just don't give up. Just keep doing it. And seeing your perspective and seeing your take on how that is and how that works, or at least how your mind works, uh, it's doing a lot for me. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, and I think it's just a matter
It's
of
pretty
like,
cool. It's pretty cool,
I
man.
think it's just a matter of like we just can't be afraid to fail, you know? Like just don't
Yeah.
be afraid to fail. Like
Yeah.
failure is part of life. It's part of the journey. It's part of what like makes you success, you know?
Yeah.
Like I remember watching this video. It's kind of cheesy and whatever, but like I remember watching this video about like Michael Jordan talking about how he um like how many three-pointers he missed in his career
Oh
and
yeah.
how many shots, the last second shots that he missed
He
to lose the
missed. Yeah.
game
Yeah.
and like all these things, and he's like that paved the way so that I could make those winning
Make.
shots later.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's just kind
Yeah.
of how I've like adopted and lived my life, is so that I could like I want to fail. I don't want to fail, but like I fail so
You
that I
almost
can learn how
do.
to succeed later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You almost do. Yeah. You almost do.
Yeah.
No, that's incredible, man. Yeah. It. I don't know. I'm kind of at a loss for words, man. Like I'm seeing you differently, and it like I'm literally seeing you differently in these moments, and it's really it's beautiful, man. It's beautiful, cause like it just oh man, I can't wrap my head around it. Like I've spent so much time like I think I've kind of told you, but like I've spent so much time just like trying things and then just literally when it like my natural talent level in whatever it is, I'll go to that point, and then as soon as it like gets somewhat hard or even like really hard, I just like I'm done with this and just give
Mhm.
up and move on. I don't know if it's like if it was like necessarily like fear of failing more so than like just like I just don't want to do this because it sucks.
Mhm.
You know, like you mentioned something where you're earlier where you're like, you know, just find something you love, or you will find something you love, and then you kind of keep doing it. Like, like music for me, like I just kind of get music, but I've let a lot of like exterior factors get into my head of like, you can't make money in music. It's really really hard to do that. You can't, you know, blah blah blah. You can't. You know, so my brain just talking to me. But um, but that was all. I don't know. That was all before like, um, I don't know. That was just in a different time, and you know, I don't know. I do
Well, I
see
think
things differently now, but like, I don't know.
I think that like internally we all have that like you can't like thing
Oh
going on.
yeah,
We
yeah,
all do.
yeah. Dude, okay,
Um,
okay. So I'm realizing that now. I'm realizing that now that like every single person, and that's actually what really changed for me, is I saw something where someone was saying like it was I think it was I'm pretty sure it was David Goggins, but he was essentially saying like I hate running. Like I absolutely hate running. I don't like doing it, but I do it because I know it makes me better. Like I push
I think I've seen that too. Yeah.
my body, I push my mind through it. Nobody likes to run. Nobody does. Like you can't like Ty, I'm sure you're watching this. You don't like running. You can't tell me you do. No,
He
no
might
one.
now, but at one point in time he did not.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But like that was such a big clarity thing for me to be like, well, like I'm sure there were times where Michael Jordan didn't like playing basketball, didn't like practicing. I'm sure there were times where he was like, I don't want to fucking do this. But he's like, well, got to do it anyway. I got to get this done because it's going to make me better. Same thing with Tiger Woods. Same thing with any Tom Brady. I guarantee you all of them go through and went through and are going through moments of like, I don't want to practice. I don't want to wake up at 4 a.m. and get 2 hours of practice in so that I'm better. But and see, that goes back to me like, you know, my natural talent levels and things. I would just like do things like I would just play golf at just what I'm just playing at, and I would like hardly ever like I would practice, but it would not be like focused, like dedicate. I would just be like, okay, I'm just gonna put some balls and see if some go in. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Well, I think that like to go along with this, I'll share with you something that one of my coworkers, his name's Lorenzo. He's Italian and he moved here from Florida like last year, and he was a boxer when he
Mm,
was a teenager.
mm,
He ended up like winning a bunch of boxing tournaments and stuff, and um, him and I have talked about like competitiveness and like how to like remain competitive and whatnot. And to kind of go along with what you're saying, he told me one day, and it's kind of stuck with me, and it's honestly made me like up my practice even more since then. It's been a few months since then, but he told me, he's like, sometimes when you go to practice, like you feel like you're doing the same repetitive things over and over again. Like in golf, like I'm just gonna go hit 900 wedges,
mm,
but I did that yesterday. Like I don't want to do that again today. Like practicing gets kind of like you plateau and you get like mundane.
uh-huh.
And I told him that, and his response, he told me, he's like, um, if you're not doing that, the other guy is.
Mm,
He's like, if you're not working on the same thing over and over again, you're not making it muscle memory, someone else in that field is. And so
mm,
when push comes to shove, do you want to say that you practice less than the guy you're trying to beat? No.
mm. Yeah. Wow.
And so when I
Wow.
heard that, I was like, oh, I'm going to out practice everybody in that field now. Like, and so, and honestly, it's worked,
Man, that's
like,
crazy.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. There's always, yeah. Like like I didn't realize this at the time. I saw this video like years and years ago, but now you're reminding me of it now. Kobe would like supposedly like wake up at like 3 a.m. and practice from 3 to like 6, and then
Yeah, yeah.
take a break, and then practice from like 7 to 9, and then take a break and practice from like 11. Essentially, he's like practicing like all day, and he's like, if I'm not doing that, someone else is. Someone else is in the
Right.
gym, like working out and practicing their shot. Someone else is doing it, and like essentially, like I'll sleep like 2 hours a day to make sure I get enough practice in. Is essentially like the message he was getting across. I'm like, damn, like that mindset, that like, and and I guarantee you, he's doing those practices, or he did, I guess he did those practices. He's like, this fucking sucks. It's like, I hate this. I don't want to be here
but
at
he would
3:30 right now. You kidding me?
but he would rather overwork the competitive or the his competitors. Like he would
Yeah.
rather outwork them. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's just how I've always had that mentality. Like
Man,
I may not be the most talented, but I can sure as heck work as hard as any of you guys. So
that's crazy. Yeah. That's awesome, man. Yeah. That mentality's good, man. That's good.
yeah.
Uh, it, you've shown a light, my friend. You've shown a light.
Perfect.
Well, cool. Yeah. Do you want to keep diving a little further? You want to keep going, exploring your mind specifically? Do you want to like? I mean, I have some questions. I want to ask. I texted them over to you. They're golf related, but it's just kind of
Yeah.
more lighthearted and fun. But like, I mean, these are dives. You
Well,
know.
let's kind of push a pause right here, and let's in the next episode, let's talk about a little bit more in terms of like diving deeper into like all that stuff. I just yeah, I just think like if we
This.
kind of put a like benchmark on it, we
Let's
can.
put a pin in it.
Yeah. And then we'll obviously we'll dive a little deeper into like what it all means and like how we can progress from here.
Cool. Well, you're dope. This was fun. This has been a night dive with Jetthro and Brandon. We'll see you guys next time.